Hello, my friends. Welcome to Talk to Me Tuesday for Tuesday, February 13th, 2024. This is Jennifer. I feel much better this week, so thank you guys for worrying about me. My allergies are fantastic right now, but that's just living in Austin. We are going to do a little quilt show today, but I have some other things to show you just very quickly. So I got a little mail from Jules, and she sent me some labels for my charity quilts because I will be donating everything you see today, charity quilt wise. All of those will be going to Project Linus, Albuquerque, where Jules volunteers. I am stockpiling for the next time I see her. And so she did send me some labels, but she threw so many other things in that I got all kinds of goodies. There was some thread, there was at least one sticker, there were a couple other odds and ends, and this absolutely phenomenally beautiful flowering cactus fabric. Just gorgeous. There's like 3 yards of this here. I have a small collection of cactus fabric that I'm going to put this with. I have no idea what I will do with it, but it's so beautiful. I'm sure I will find something at some point. She also sent me some fantastically huge buttons, and I will move the camera just really quickly so you guys can see it. Right up here, you can see, whoop, there you go. It's hard to point in reverse. Right here, you can see these 2 giant buttons that I put above my little David Bowie wall, and I love them so much. They're wonderful. They look fantastic in the same room with my giant clothespins, and those are actually hanging as well, so I'm very excited to have those up. I did start quilting my mini yards of bubble up fabric for making my sewing machine covers. I will tell you lots more about that when I'm actually working on the covers themselves, or when I'm done, we'll see. Right now I'm just quilting the yardage so that I can cut all the pieces out later. I got a couple of little Raggedy Ann and Andy things in the mail that I wanted to share with you guys. The first one is this teeny tiny little Andy with the little gingham legs. He's so small. I think he's a 15-inch. I didn't measure him, but I don't remember. His hair is completely dry rotted. I was able to just pluck one out with no problem whatsoever. So he definitely will need new hair at some point. His face is painted on, and so is his little I love you heart. He is a little dirty, not super dirty. His face is very yellow compared to like his body, but since he has his clothes on, everything underneath is in really good shape. So he's gonna have to get in line because I still have the 2 I've been working on in front of him, and I've had other things I've needed to do. So they are still in the same state as you saw them last week. I also got a 1918 copy of the Raggedy Ann Stories. This happened that I got this on eBay. I bid $2 on it, and it was medium mail shipping. So I got this book for less than $6. And I love it for, and this is why I wanted it, is for the illustrations. You can see the back of her 1913 hair. There's a story in here where she gets dropped in a bucket of paint and then has to be cleaned and restored, which, you know, pleases me endlessly. I posted a short about that on YouTube and a reel on Instagram, so you may have already seen that. But yeah, so this was a little treat just for myself. I actually ordered this while I was sick. Definitely time for a quilt show now. I have lots to share with you guys. I have been quilting charity quilts over the last few weeks as I stockpile for my visit with Jules, and I have 2 on the wall here. This one right here is the only one I'm showing you today that I did not make. This one was made by Crystal. I think I still have 2 more mermaid panels to quilt. This was just happened to be the only one that I didn't make that already had batting and a back ready to go, so that's the one that got quilted. And for this one, I did little quilty swirls. I'm thinking when I do the next 2, I'm gonna do like waves. Don't know why I didn't do it on this one, but I didn't. But the swirls look very nice. And a little note on all of these, I use the same thread on every single quilt. I had this Coats and Clark embroidery thread in my embroidery stuff, and I never really used it on my embroidery machine because I had this color in the brand I normally use. So I put it with my quilting stuff, and this green goes with everything. I ended up quilting 8 charity quilts with just this color. If you're looking for a nice neutral, I don't have the information anymore, but I can try to look it up for you. It is a Coats and Clark embroidery thread. Probably was a gift from Jules. The quilt on this side was an orphan block quilt that I pieced together during BFF retreat in 2022. I had these 2 large on point pieces, and then these guys were 4 patches that I pieced together. I was not in love with this when I put it on the frame, but I really like it now that it's quilted. I did the the ribbon quilting on it, and I think it looks very nice, and I think it'll be a very sweet baby quilt now that it's actually done. The rest of the quilts you see are all from BFF Retreat 2022. I want to tell you that now so I don't keep saying it over and over. These were entirely orphan block quilts, and you will see some things repeated. These squares are the same as these squares. I used them in a lot of different quilts and in a lot of different ways, so I hope you really enjoy the way they turned out. I mixed and matched a lot of things. Like this one I just mixed with solid fabric. I had pre-cut a lot of squares for that retreat just so we had stuff we could just grab and go. And on this one I actually mixed with other orphan blocks. For this one I did a sort of a medium meander all over the entire quilt. And again, these are all the same thread. And then on this one, I just had the best time on this one. I was not in the mood to do one thing, so I didn't. And there are swirls and sort of feathers and loop-de-loops and waves and flowers and a couple of lightning bolts because I just felt like doodling all over this quilt. So this one has all kinds of stuff going on. Here you're going to see some more repeats. So on this side we have more of the 4 patches with the, I believe these were 8.5-inch squares. I think most of these came from a layer cake, and then there were a couple others I mixed in. This side, more 4 patches and more of the block that has the half square triangles on the corners. I had lots of both of those and I mixed them throughout a lot of quilts. For this guy I did sort of ribbons, but I did them in waves across, and I totally copied Jules. I've done this before and I'd forgotten, but she mentioned she was doing it on a quilt, and so I did it on a quilt. That happens to us a lot, guys. And so it's turned sideways right now. So every second or third one, I did sort of the ribbon, and then in between I'd have a single line. So it's a little bit different than the others. This one is also the ribbon meander. I was binding this quilt with the orange binding when my Juki started making a noise that it's not supposed to make, and my thread started breaking. So I cleaned it, changed the needle, did all the things you're supposed to do, and it was still doing it. So I have put it in the timeout corner over here until my service appointment, which isn't until the middle of March. And I'm sewing on my 301 now. I have a vintage Singer 301 that my grandmother gave me many years ago. Yeah, it took me a little while to kind of get the groove of using a different machine again, because that machine I usually only piece on when I sew somewhere else, which has happened 3 times in the last year. We've reached the final 2 in the batch, and they possibly are my favorites from this set of quilts that I quilted. The bright colors and the black just make everything pop. This one is extremely fun. I had the set of piece squares that had been given to me that were reds and oranges and yellows, and I mixed them with a Star Wars sugar skull fabric that I have had forever and ever and ever. I originally bought it for a quilt back. I gave it to Sarah, who lives here, and she made a dress out of it, and then she gave me the leftovers, and then I cut them into pieces, and it's been binding and all kinds of stuff. I think this is the end of it. I think this is all that's left. I was one short, so I put a teal block in the middle just to kind of pull it all together, and it is bound in sugar skulls and black dots. This quilt is just one of those quilts that when I'm doing an orphan block quilt, this is the kind of thing I like to do, where I take a bunch of blocks that don't look like they should go together, but make them work together. And I know Jules loves to do that too. It's just this puzzle of putting these things together and making them work in a quilt. So I had lots of brights and just colors that kind of pop, and I put them all in the same quilt. You can see there's some wonky stars. This, that little firework up there, there's one there, there's one there. Those are Jeannie's blocks. I think that might actually be one of her patterns. And I've got some little rainbows and some half square triangles, and there's even a little castle with a couple of, it's got a princess and a chicken. So yeah, very fun. Loved putting this together. This one has the black with the bright dots as the sashing, and then it's also bound in it. I don't remember if I brought that fabric or Jules brought that fabric, but I'm pretty sure we used it at 2 separate retreats. And I think I finally got down to just one with the fabric 2.5-inch strip. It was another one of those fabrics that just kept going and going and going. Here is a teeny tiny sneak peek of my swap quilt. That's all you get. Whether you celebrate Valentine's or not, I hope you have a wonderful day tomorrow. And if you're looking for a heart pattern, I have lots of free ones on Sew Hooked. Link in the description. Big thanks to my coffee supporters. You guys are awesome. I hope you have a wonderful week. I hope you have a very crafty week. I hope you're warm wherever you are, safe wherever you are. Not too hot if you're in Australia. I know it's been really hot there. And yeah, you guys have a wonderful week, and I will see you next week. Bye.